Hello everyone, I'm NiiNiiFC and this is Blue Lines TV, and today's Transfer Daily video is brought to you by OneFootball. OneFootball is the app that you need to cover everything related to your favourite football team and general football news. Use the OneFootball app so you're up to date with every team's transfer news, team stats, fixture lists, competitions and much more. Personalise your feed. Get alerts to the news and stories you want. Download the OneFootball app today. Your football fix is only a swipe away. And in today's Transfer Daily video, there's a lot to talk about. I'm going to be discussing Alex Sandro. I'm going to be talking about Van Dijk. I'll be talking about Diego Costa and him getting his lawyers involved in trying to force a move away from Chelsea. And I'm going to be talking about Gareth Bale. Now, getting onto the start of the video, and yes, there is an 80% chance that Alex Sandro will become a Chelsea player. Now, the club are very confident on this deal going through. And why are they so confident? Well, Chelsea, have gone to my source in London and they've basically said they want to prepare an account for Antonio Rudiger and they want to prepare one in advance for Alex Sandro. Now, this is a very common thing by clubs to do. I explained this earlier, but I'm going to explain it again. Well, of course, with international players coming in, clubs like to get all of their finances sorted, their investments, their products, houses, cars, etc. ready for them, because if you think about it, moving so shortly to another country like that, having to live a different life, find a new area and everything, it's very hard to just do that without having any expertise or any assistance or help around you. And that's why clubs go to banks, but they get their financial advisors, investment managers, and property agents and advisors to come and help the players, pick the right areas to live in, houses and everything. So they really help a lot. And Chelsea are preparing one for Alex Sandro because they're going to be placing a new bid that's going to be close to the £65 million mark, which is going to be 70 something million euros. And they're confident that they can bring the player because they've been assured that the player does want to come, but the only hold up comes from Juventus and their board. And one of the main things with Juventus is that there's no replacement for him. Now, there were talks of Cancelo coming from Valencia and that Lamina might actually play a part in the deal by going to Valencia, and then in turn it could be like a player surplus money involved in bringing Cancelo to Juventus, but it looks like Lamina might be going to Stoke City instead. And of course, at this time in the market too, the season's starting very soon, Juventus can't find a replacement just yet for Alex Sandro, especially a high quality one that they would need. And Juventus, they do not sell players unless they brought someone in first, and that's the hold up. Now this is the thing, Sandro wants to come, Chelsea are confident. The only thing that can mess up this deal is if Juventus can't get a replacement and they can't get one quickly. So honestly, I'll have to say this is about 70 to 80% chance that Sandro will become a Chelsea player. So we have to pray that Juventus can get a replacement for Alex Sandro, because once that's the case, we can get the player. Now Sandro is in London at the moment. I think Juventus are having a friendly with Tottenham Hotspur. Who knows what's going to happen behind the scenes. But anyway, you guys, I'm confident on Sandro. This guy is an amazing player, one of the the best three in the world. I think the best three, Felipe Luis, Marcelo and Alex Sandro. I think he's a fantastic player. His dynamism. He's the only guy that reminds me of Roberto Carlos, and he's like one of my most favourite players ever. His one-on-one defending, his tenacity in the tackle, which I really like. I love those fullbacks like the likes of Ashley Coles and Aspies. They go in hard and firm and they win the ball cleanly, and they win it quickly, and then we start our attacks. That's always a good sign to tell who has the potential to either be a top class fullback or who is a top class fullback. So you guys keep that in mind. Also, his crossing, the guy is the best crosser in the world in my opinion. Every type of cross, especially having Alvaro Morata playing up front, he's gonna love it. Morata's fantastic in the air. I'm really excited. I hope that this comes through. I think the club now, they're going to spend the money. Of course, with the deal, it's probably going to be, I think, a £55 million fee plus a lot of clauses and add-ons, which is a standard thing of football these days. But it's close to happening, you guys. So we just need to pray Juventus can get their replacement. Now, moving on to the next story, we are being linked with the £50 million move for Virgil van Dijk. Now, we do know that Van Dijk is actually training by himself at Southampton at the moment. He's been doing that for the past few weeks, and he's trying to force a move away from Southampton, basically. Now, reports are saying that Conte wants to bring him to the club, and there's actually a history in football of things like this happening. You know, people will think, but they're already covered in those positions. But for example, at Manchester United, Gawa was signed and Van Persie was signed to play up front. Same thing with us too. When we signed Claude Makelele, we actually signed Alex Sandro from Bordeaux, who was brought to cover the same role. We told him to stay on loan at Bordeaux for the other, you know, for the next season, and we brought in Makelele. So yeah, these things do happen in football, but at the same time, is Van Dijk necessarily needed? Now, again, I'm a big fan of him. I've really liked him. I mean, for a whole year. I mean, I've been talking about Van Dijk before he became the big popular name to talk about. Before, when we were struggling to look for defenders, talking about Koulibaly and players like that, I was saying, let's go for Van Dijk because this guy is immense. He's a, you know, he's a world-class player in my opinion, playing for a smaller team. We signed Luiz in the end, and I think once we signed Luiz, you know, we were covered. We didn't really need to sign him at all. But at the same time, of course, we know Conte wants to bring him in. We know that Conte just isn't looking at the youth players whatsoever. And you're looking at his press conference earlier today, saying that because Hazard and Pedro are injured, he's going to have to consider Morata and Michy up front, completely ignoring Berger and Masunda. But that's another topic to talk about for another day. But with Van Dijk, I really feel it's a case of diminishing returns. Now, him coming to our defence is probably our strongest part of the team. It's not a weakness whatsoever. Of course, Van Dijk will improve it, but he's not improving it drastically. He's maybe improving one small area, which is going to be maybe aerial balls. And again, he's only going to be winning maybe 2 extra or 1 extra aerial ball a game. And at the end of the day, how many aerial balls are really dangerous in the first place? So again, I feel it's a case of diminishing returns. You know, signing someone like Sandro or, you know, another guy in midfield or elsewhere, that's going to help improve the team. Because that's what I'm thinking about, improving the team. Tactically, Van Dijk isn't a massive upgrade, and left wing back is, because that changes how we play and it improves what we do. Even having someone up front playing in the front 3 role, because, you know, I keep saying too often the front 3 don't keep the ball well enough. You know, let's say spending the money on like a I don't know, like a Dembele, for example, whatever. Putting the 50 million plus extra on top will make more sense in that regards than putting 50 million on Van Dijk when we've got Rudiger and we've got Christensen and Luiz and Cahill and Azpilicueta. So I don't really think this move makes any sense, really. And like I said, it's a case of diminishing returns. You know, we're putting a massive amount of money in to get a really small outcome. And I think that's the case in my opinion. Now, moving on to reports surrounding Gareth Bale. Now, we know that Real Madrid, they want to bring in Kylian Mbappe. Now, there's actually going to be a bit of a transfer battle because Neymar's just gone to Paris Saint-Germain. Now Barcelona need to replace him on the left-hand side. Mbappe seems like a more natural choice playing in that inside forward role up front. Now Real Madrid are thinking, you know, especially with Zidane, that, you know what, actually, he wouldn't really complement the BBC at the moment in time, so I might actually have to sacrifice one of them. And it seems like Gareth Bale potentially could be that player to be sacrificed because of his poor injury record especially. And Madrid are really thinking they could get 100 million for him. They want to sell him to try and raise funds to bring in Mbappe, because of course with financial fair play, it's not just about clubs can spend whatever they want without any consequences. You have to be able to balance the books when you put in these massive bids for players. So at the same time, Gareth Bale is being linked with Premier League teams. Chelsea, United are the main ones. Of course, it's natural that's going to happen. The money, is he worth coming? I think Bale's a good player, but I kind of think with his injury records, I'm not too sure how many games he can get from consistently. But at the same time, we have one of the, if not the best medical department in Europe, and there's a reason why we barely get any injuries. And when players do get injured, they come back really strong, and they're not, you know, they don't break down soon after. I mean, there's a reason for that. So if anything, it could help Gareth Bale in his career coming to Chelsea, but will get the best medical attention. Now, to end this Transfer Daily video, I'm going to be talking about Diego Costa, and it seems it's getting a little bit messy with his, you know, relationship with Chelsea. He's brought in his lawyer, Ricardo Cardozo, and he's basically threatening legal action against Chelsea. You know, Costa's not very happy about how he's being dismissed. Of course, with the text notification, he's not happy that he seems that the Chelsea board have sided with Conte and they haven't punished him for how he addressed Costa and telling him that he's actually not going to be available. But at the same time, a Chelsea official has come out earlier today to clarify everything that's been said and really trying to bump things, and he's called Steve Watkins, and he's saying that actually no, Costa and his team knew of the situation back in January, that he wasn't going to be wanted, and that you know, the club did have words with Conte, but they fully support him, and they agreed that, you know, maybe tactically going on to the future, Costa's not going to make any sense. Now, you guys know I love Diego Costa, one of my most favourite players. You know, he's got a special place in my heart, but with how Conte's using the team, it just doesn't complement how our four players should be, unfortunately. It is a shame, but it's not getting the best out of him, and I think this is why Alvaro Morata was brought in, because, you know, he can bring hopefully the best of both worlds going into the future. But at the same time, it's quite you know, sad how the relationship ended. Of course, it never got off from the perfect start, because at the same time when Costa wanted to leave last season, that was all the turmoil happening at the club at the moment with, you know, Mourinho. A lot of the players weren't happy with his management, or with you know, the physio leaving too. I can't believe I forgot her name on top of my head. They weren't happy with that, and, you know, there were a lot of tantrums against Mourinho, and Costa's probably thinking, you know what, I've had enough. You know, I want to go back to Spain, where I'm loved. Yeah, I love the city. All my friends are there for Atletico Madrid. You know, I can't even fully speak the language. He hasn't fully integrated in just yet. So at the same time, you know, when Conte was coming in, Costa was letting him know that, you know what, boss, I'm actually going to be leaving. So, and of course, Conte stated himself in numerous press conferences that he only cares about the players that want to fight for him and want to give him a resource. So from then on, Conte had animosity towards Diego Costa from the start. And of course, Diego Costa, he's not happy with how he was told again that he'd be leaving. I think he's probably thinking, you know what, after the argument they had in January, and, you know, after Conte using him in every single game till the end of the season, and how many times did we see Conte and Costa celebrate afterwards, and, you know, they seem to repatch everything. Maybe Costa was under the belief that, you know what, that argument or discussion we had in January was a thing of the past, we've moved past it, the relationship's much better. But it seems like maybe Conte hadn't forgotten about it, and he was serious that, no, you're leaving, I don't care if we're better now, you're gone. And I think that's why Costa's feeling betrayed, and that's why he's not happy. So he's doing all he can to move to Atletico Madrid, and of course he's trying to reduce the transfer fee, because Chelsea want 50 million euros. It is quite a lot. At the same time, he's going to make it very difficult. You know, if Chelsea get a higher bid from AC Milan, you know, Costa doesn't have to go. He doesn't have to do the medical. So if anything, Costa could potentially be getting his way and forcing his move back to Atletico Madrid. But anyway, you guys, that's going to end the Transfer Daily video today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, please follow me on Patreon if you want to support. I need to say thank you to everyone that encouraged me to start a Patreon page, and thank you to the people who have donated to the Patreon already. It means a lot. It's actually kind of crazy that, you know, people love the content that much that they want to support. You know, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Also, Andy has his own Patreon if you want to support him too, you know, help him with his equipment and for his videos too. That would be a great help. And you guys, thank you to OneFootball for sponsoring this video today. And please, in the description below, follow OneFootball. And yeah, download their app for free. Anyway, you guys, thank you for watching the video. I'm NiiNiiFC. This is Blue Lines TV. Signing out.